Hey listeners, Waste Expo 2025 is back and bigger than ever, happening May 5th through May 8th in Las Vegas. Join the ultimate event for waste and recycling professionals to connect with industry leaders, explore the latest innovations, and take your business to the next level. This is your opportunity to network, learn, and discover solutions to drive your business forward. Register today at wasteexpo.com. That's WASTEEXPO.com. See you at Waste Expo 2025.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Waste World podcast by Waste 360, where we tell you every single week what's going on in the world of waste. We interview industry experts, and we talk pretty much about anything from composting to solar. Today, we're at Compost 2025 for a special edition. I'm here with Gage. How are you today, Gage?
I'm doing pretty good. You had mentioned composting. That was something we talk about on occasion. Fittingly, we are here at Compost 2025, like you said. I'm having a good time. It's a little cold here in Phoenix. I didn't expect this.
Oh, I didn't either. This cold blast this last few weeks everywhere across the country has just, really disrupted things,
Which
I think.
it's followed me from Washington, D.C. to Florida to somehow looped back to Arizona. And I am over it. Everywhere I go is cold, and everywhere I leave gets warm.
Yeah, I thought it was me bringing the Ohio weather, but it sounds like it's you.
I still do blame you for a lot of the Ohio weather I've suffered in Vegas and New Orleans. Somehow, wherever I go, the cold follows. But sometimes you're there too, so I think it's also your fault.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take a little bit of accountability, but...
Yeah, just a little bit. Anyway, Compost 2025.
Yeah, so, this is our first time here. Mm-hmm. We have to note that, that we really wanted to come here to get an outlook, see what's going on with food waste, see what's going on from an operations standpoint, see what's going on from an educational standpoint. So I think, in the last couple days here, we've really kind of gathered, information from a lot of different industry experts, talked to a lot of different people about this, and figured out a lot of different trends, things that people are talking about this year.
Yeah, I do think that obviously they stress how important composting is on all levels, and I don't think that's something that everybody thinks about, but it's something that people know they should be doing. They don't know how accessible it is to compost at home, or the businesses don't want to spend the money to end up composting. I heard a speaker yesterday say that, the cost is the cost. The cost might end up being the planet if we're not composting, so it's worth it to spend the money. I think it's worth it to spend the money. Everyone here thinks it's worth it to spend the money. Obviously, they do, getting in these big equipment, big trucks in here. So it's a really special event, and I think it's an important one. So I'm glad to be here for the first time.
No, absolutely. And, the great thing about these trade shows and conferences is you really see that collaboration, that partnership to drive innovative solutions, to build that infrastructure for composting, which is, I think we're going to see a lot of it in the next couple of years here. We have a lot of, we have a new administration in here. We have EPA regulations that are coming down the pipeline in regards to, compliance and biosolids and things like that. So there's a lot of talk that's going on, and when it comes down to municipal programs as well, we're seeing a lot of generation coming from SB 1383 and across the country with the implementation of EPR programs, for instance, packaging, and also food waste collection, residential, curbside programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, SB 1383 is asking all organic waste to be, or 75% of organic waste to be diverted from landfills by this year. I'm not sure we're at that yet, but California is working on it. We're getting there, right? Mm-hmm. That's some of the talk you mentioned the EPA, you mentioned other policies coming into play this year. A lot of talk about that at this conference. I know we've been in and out of sessions. Do you want to bring up a session you saw or something interesting you've heard about?
Yes, in particular, PFAS, something that, is not just in industry minds, but people are talking about it.
The forever chemicals.
Yes, forever chemicals. What does that look like? How is that impacting the compost industry? The draft biosolids risk assessment just came out from the EPA, so we're going to see some movement on that, see what is happening. There's some people who are concerned in the industry about the levels that are stated in this draft document. James Slaughter, who was the speaker of the session from Beverage and Diamond, he said that, too low levels can scare the public, and it also could cause an enormous disruption for composters to be able to accurately, or in farming and agriculture, and it just spreads across other industries too, about, what is happening to these biosolids, what are the permissible levels, and, what kind of advocacy that is needed, what kind of research that is needed to back up getting to an appropriate level where composters can fall into compliance, and also, something that is measurable and comfortable for others going forward when it comes to educating the public.
Well said. Now, you had mentioned the EPA. I just got out of a panel from about the EPA's compost research and resources. Lana Suarez was a speaker in there, and they're working on, we're talking about PFAS, some current and future research that's going to be available to people who are getting into composting. One of those things is PFAS and plastic contamination. So it's not going away. It's called forever chemicals for a reason. It's going to be with us for a while. We just need to figure out a way to mitigate it a little further. The EPA, of course, is working on those resources now. Some of the other things that she was talking about the EPA is working on that's coming out in the future: sewer methane from food waste research, kitchen food waste, dehydrator research, cost of wasted food, which got to be in the billions. I mean, it's insane how much.
Yeah, actually, Jasmine Crowe Houston just said that the cost of wasted food is $400 billion per year.
What would you do with $400 billion?
Oh, man.
Give all the food back.
Maybe I'd buy the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, maybe. You'd probably get them for way less than that.
Right?
You could cure the food waste insecurity or food insecurity and buy the Cleveland Cavaliers at that point, I would imagine. But that is an impossible number to think about, how much food is wasted annually. I mean,
yeah, and the other interesting thing that you really think about is the soil health in our country is actually degraded over the past few decades, and in turn, composting and building up the infrastructure, building these programs is going to be very beneficial for that from an agricultural standpoint. Compost, I heard in one of the sessions, actually filters out about up to 95% of the pollutants in water, which is huge when we're talking about, our wastewater and our systems that we have in place right now, and how this industry can actually improve environmental health, public health in this country.
Let's transition to public health, household stuff.
Yeah.
I sat in on a session hosted by Aaron Wilson, a graduate student. He was talking about the Central Valley Community Composting Program that he is a part of.
Oh, okay.
And they were trying to address the composting situation in the San Joaquin Valley, where the air quality and some other factors are getting in the way of large facility composting, so they were trying to figure out ways of bringing composting on a scalable level to households. So they rounded up a few hundred households and did some tests on what is considered edible and inedible food waste coming out of those houses and what are good solutions for them. Now, it is an ongoing study. They are working more with these households to figure out more solutions, but one of the key takeaways is the education behind composting and what can be composted and why we should be doing it is essential in some of these conversations. So it was really interesting to hear him talk about that. You can read more about that article, of course, on waste360.com. We wrote about that this week. So if you're listening to this on the Monday, roll back a little bit. It's in there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And there's a lot of other content that we're going to be putting out from this conference as well on waste360.com.
Yep,
so
shameless plug.
Yeah, absolutely. But
we'll put the plug in now, so I don't have to edit one in later. Go to waste360.com.
But I mean, back to household
yes.
participation and education. The thing that the session I sat in about food scraps, household participation, and data measurement. It's getting that data that you need that'll help further education efforts. The thing that I found is actually the labeling part of these bins. Prince George's County, Maryland, had rolled out curbside composting to the entire community as of the last couple of years, and they went from labeling their bins from trash to landfill, from recycling to recycle, and from organics to composting, because those couple words actually signal where is that trash, where is that those material, where are they going to end up at the end of the day, and people were really able to relate to that. The residents were able to relate to that, and that actually helped participation rates when they rolled out their curbside program, lowered contamination rates because of that.
Interesting. Speaking of branding, real quick, I don't want to get on a tangent here, but I was in a session a little earlier where they talked about we shouldn't call it food waste anymore. We should call it food resource, which, because when we think of waste, something you want to throw away. Food resource, we take those food scraps and those other organic materials, we turn it into fuel, we turn it into soil, we turn it into something new. So maybe it's a branding problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it's we just need to figure out we gotta stop calling it waste.
Yeah, it's not waste.
Resource.
It's recovery.
Right.
It's recovery, and you do hear that sprinkled throughout. It's recovery, not waste, because what we're doing is we're recovering, whether it's inedible food or edible food that's going to, shelters and those experiencing food insecurity. It is recovery of our resources.
Right. We got to give back. Sorry, didn't mean to get on a little tangent there. What else you got in there?
Well, I mean, man.
Man, I mean, it's been a busy week.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think, one of the big messages is that it is logistics. It's about getting, things from point A to point B. Where are things going to end up? And I think Jasmine, again, her opening keynote, she does a great focus. She started serving, families out of her home through couponing.
With her company Gooder.
Her company Gooder, and then she eventually expanded. She started to see that, look at all this restaurant waste, what are we going to do with it? She built the technology and the app to be able to connect restaurants, businesses, the Atlanta airport, to resources, to those companies, those nonprofits, those others that can take that food and divert it from the landfill. And technology itself in the past few years has been immensely helpful in being able to build that infrastructure, solve those logistical problems to bring food to the right places to keep it out of our landfills.
Right. It was really great to hear Jasmine talk about that and all the work that she's done down in Atlanta and working with other cities too. Of course, if it makes a lot of logistical sense, like that Milwaukee example she gave. And she wrote that book, Everybody Eats. I think it's great. I think everyone here is realizing that they're generators of food waste because we all eat, so we all have to figure it out.
Exactly. And she's just like a good, down-to-earth person. She really just knows how to put things into perspective for everybody, and that's what I love about her. We've seen her grown, in Waste 360 throughout the last few years here with her company, so I'm really looking forward to what is going to be happening in the future with her. But, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago about technology, I really want to move a little bit forward and talk about that too. Yeah. I know you were talking about AI and robotics.
Yes, I sat in on a panel about AI robotics sorting or finding of contamination versus human sorting of contamination. Really interesting panel. I'm going to be writing about it tonight. Got a lot of key information. I will give a small spoiler alert for the panel, or for the article rather. They had to remove the robots. So not, if you would think that the machine always beats the man, not always the case. Composting and contaminants in composting creates a real issue where if we think of a MRF's able to use an AI to figure out very static looking items. A water bottle usually looks like a water bottle. When you put glass in a composting pile and put it through a sorter, robots have a hard time picking it out because things are dirty. And they also, but they'll shake out for fines and stuff. That glass still remains dirty. Robot can't identify it. Glass would just run through that thing all day long. You're going to lose customers over getting glass and composting back. Putting glass in the soil like that, it's not going to go a long way.
No.
People are going to get mad. So, again, here's a quick plug, waste360.com, where you can find out more about that article later this week. Well, I guess you're not listening to this live. By the time this podcast is out, that article should be out. So you'll read more about it there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting because I went into that panel thinking, of course, the robot's going to beat the man every time. Not so.
I'm just waiting for ChatGPT to take our jobs now.
We're kind of there, right? If our bosses were just like, I can just write article about composting and it just gives me what they would say, good, we're good. But they can't do this podcast.
No, they can't be here getting this information directly from those other experts.
Right, until they figure out a way to have ChatGPT listen to a panel and put it back in a personal speaking voice with our sense of humor and keen analyzing abilities,
Exactly. And the day I see a robot sitting next to me in a session, I will be very sad.
Let's talk about robots real quick, because you and I, this is my first time in Phoenix. You've been here a few times. Mm-hmm. The driving cars.
Yes.
Which everyone is talking about, apparently. Everyone that's here is taking one. We should take one.
Oh, exactly. It was very interesting because I didn't even think about it. I haven't been to Phoenix for probably 6-7 years here, and I used to write for a safety publication, and actually remember writing something about them coming out here in Phoenix. It was like a test pilot city. So I opened
What's
up
the company?
Waymo.
Okay.
Yeah.
We would try to take a Waymo ride.
Oh,
today.
for sure. I'm really interested to see how this autonomous driving is going to work, and also, from a fleet management perspective, where this could help, the industry, not just composting, but waste and recycling too, because that'll be very interesting.
I wonder if Waymo is going to get into haulers. Now we'll have Trellis, just like, it's fully AI. Doesn't even need a driver. That'd be interesting to see. Okay, back on track. Topic here. I talked about my technology. Did you have technology?
Yeah, actually, the food composting, the different technologies that are available, home composters.
Oh, sure. Yes, you were telling me about this.
I thought that was very interesting, not because, you just, for instance, if you have a, smart garbage can for food scraps, it's not just you throwing it in there and it's creating the compost, that you're able to take out into your garden later.
Right.
The other thing that's interesting is that it's actually reading what is inside there, and it's calculated, and it has an algorithm to be able to tell you what's the poundage of the food waste that you have in this, what exactly it is, how long it's going to take to process, and what the nutritional soil content is going to be after.
Interesting. Okay.
And in that way, Mill, the company actually that has this technology and is rolling out these home composting recyclers to places like Phoenix, Arizona, where they're collecting it. It's getting sent to a partner and made into fresh vegetables, things like that. It's just really interesting to see the education that can be achieved when you're able to see that data right inside your house. You're not going to have to look it up on Google. It's right in front of you.
I like that AI gives me reports on just about everything I do, but it also kind of makes me feel like a bad human sometimes. but I mean, that's part of the game, right? Just being...
And numbers don't lie, though.
Numbers don't lie, and if it enriches our life, I'd say go for it. I say go for it. All right, Steph, any other compost thoughts here while we're doing our little podcast? We're you can't see us at home. We have no video for this, but we're looking into the hall here. Anything cool you saw on the show floor this year? Oh, do you want to tell me you had a book signing you went to?
Oh, yes. The Composting Handbook. I actually met a few different individuals from the Compost Research and Education Foundation, which is an offshoot of the U.S. Composting Council, completely different nonprofit set of funding. They aren't as well known as some other organizations that we've worked with in the past, so I did want to give them a shout out. They have some great literature that they put out, including the Composting Handbook, that is able to show, from an industrial standpoint how to compost, and, down municipal standpoint, things like that. And it's actually great research. I very much encourage you to go check that out. And look at the book, because I think that is going to be some great, just like a really good handbook for the future. You don't see a lot of good, textbook type handbooks, and I've always liked those personally because they really get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, textbook is, I think, the appropriate term for me, because you showed me how big the book was, and that was like, wow, that's a big whole book.
Hey, a lot to learn, a lot of information, and very, very rich in information.
Right. Yeah, and then for me, love seeing the big equipment. I love walked through Viably's booth and saw they have little miniatures of all their things that they're going to have out at the demo day tomorrow, from when we're recording this. Their grinders and their other big machines, and their little compacting trash cans, which I love. And then over at Vermeer, just checking out all the ins and outs of their grinders too. So really interesting stuff. I really like seeing it. People seem to be really excited about composting here, which obviously they should be, but it's just like everyone is really involved. I like how the event's gone so far.
I know. I love to see the passion and the enthusiasm. A lot of people, will just sit behind their desks or getting, very entrenched in their everyday job, but to be able to reach out, to go see people a couple, once or twice a year, and actually get down to talking what their concerns are, what the trends are, what their insights are, it's just so helpful.
Right. I agree. Well, Steph, any final thoughts?
I'm just really looking forward to what, where we're going to see, from a food waste perspective, composting perspective in the next year, what kind of advancements we're going to see, what we're going to see with a new administration, funding for infrastructure to, city programs. There's just so much going on. This is our first trip of January 2025.
Yeah.
We have the WET show that is coming up in February, which is, waste and wastewater technology. We have tons of different recycling shows that are coming up, highlighting different segments of the industry. And of course, the big one, Waste Expo.
Waste Expo.
Yes, in Las Vegas this year.
I'm excited to see Waste Expo, which, I was thinking about it. We're going to be doing a podcast from there. This is our first in-person podcast together. It's great to see you.
It was nice to see you too, and hopefully we can see more of each other.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. There's other events coming up. We should do this. We should pop around to different events, see some stuff, and just do a podcast straight from the venue. I kind of like how this format. It's a lot better than the Zoom calls where some people, it's just like, audio just drops out. I'm like, wow, that's a really pain for me. I got to figure that out.
Well, and then I question if you're really there or if it's AI.
Well, sure. I have been working on the AI Gage for a long time. Hopefully that's coming soon. Well, cool. Yeah, final thoughts for me. It's been a great time here in Phoenix. I wish it would warm up, but maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I'm excited to see what's going on the rest of the day here. We still have the demo day tomorrow, which I will be at. So there will be a separate video for that. You can check it on waste360.com or on our YouTube page. I think that's it. Where can people find the podcast?
Oh, yeah. Our podcast, Waste 360, Waste World, it's available on waste360.com. You can find it on YouTube. We'll have some B-roll to go with our talk today. And every podcasting platform you can think of, Spotify, Apple Music, things like that.
Excellent. Steph, this was great. Great fun.
Yes, yeah. Hey, and remember, it's our world. Let's not waste it.
Hey listeners, Waste Expo 2025 is back and bigger than ever, happening May 5th through May 8th in Las Vegas. Join the ultimate event for waste and recycling professionals to connect with industry leaders, explore the latest innovations, and take your business to the next level. This is your opportunity to network, learn, and discover solutions to drive your business forward. Register today at wasteexpo.com. That's wasteexpo.com. See you at Waste Expo 2025.